Hi, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, or you might be finding me on a different channel. And I just wanted to address some topics that I've been thinking about for a really long time and experienced myself. And I wanted to address them because we are experiencing so much stress these days, so much fear, anxiety. People are having trouble sleeping. My name is Edie Summers, and I'm an author and holistic well-being and energy expert. And I do have a book out, which I'll mention in a little bit. It's called The Memory of Health, and it takes a deep dive into a lot of these topics, including specifically chronic fatigue. But let's talk a little bit about how you can manage your stress and fear better. And then I'll talk a little bit more about fatigue and chronic fatigue. Again, like I mentioned, we are living in really stressful times, and I think all of us know this. Like I said, a lot of people are having trouble sleeping. They're feeling extremely stressed out, and feeling chronically stressed is not normal, even though it does seem to be the new norm. So I also wanted to talk about maybe different ways that you can manage your stress better and also address fear, because there's a fear and stress can often go hand in hand together. And then, of course, some of the results of dealing with chronic stress and chronic fear are kind of being in more of that anxious state all of the time because of severe stress, can lead to things like chronic fatigue and burnout and having sleep issues and things like that. So let's talk about fear first. And I'm just going to share a lot of the tips and research and resources that I've shared and learned over the years. And again, I take a deep dive into my book. And you can see my book there on the link, and I'll show you my book in a little bit. It's called The Memory of Health. It takes a deep dive into chronic fatigue. But I have a background that is in holistic wellness. I got into it because I developed health issues in my early 20s after a ski accident. And I developed chronic fatigue, and I went into physical therapy, and I was being given a lot of prescription painkillers, anti-inflammatories, and I was a modern dance major at the time, and I couldn't use my knee after the ski accident and surgery, and it was really concerning to me, in addition to the fact that I lost my energy. So I really had to learn how to use alternative practices and even integrative practices down the road. And thankfully, a lot of things that can help you manage stress and manage fear and even improve your energy and address chronic fatigue you can do on your own and holistically. Of course, sometimes you have to get outside help, and everyone's story and journey is going to be a little bit different. But I'm just going to share with you some of the things that I've learned along the way. So let's talk about fear first, because did you know that fear is kind of a default state? So if you think about it, like let's say you meet like a stray cat or stray dog on the road, and you want to approach them and help them, or say hello. And usually there's a fear response that you'll see in the animal, and that's because it doesn't know if you're safe or not. It's trying to protect itself. Of course, every situation is going to be a little different that way, but the fear response is kind of a default state in us. It's kind of part of our safety system to keep us safe. And the problem is when we're not able to move beyond that. So what I really want to emphasize, though, is that don't be hard on yourself because your first response might be fear. Because again, that's kind of a default state that we all have. The real challenge as a human being is to move beyond that and to recognize that you're in a fear state, and then, maybe learning some new tactics and new skills that can help you move beyond it, because that's where a lot of the good stuff is, right? Like we can move beyond the fear state. So I would say the first thing is to recognize that, okay, this is normal in a way if you're feeling fearful. Sometimes it's a good thing to feel that because, of course, it can help keep you safe. But generally speaking, no one wants to live in a chronic state of fear. And so, and I'm going to teach you a really simple exercise that you can do that can help manage your fear and stress. There are a lot of things that I've learned over the years that can really help to improve and your not only your energy, but also manage stress really well, and also even kind of manage that fear state that comes up. A really simple one that you can do, and you've probably heard part of this before, is taking slower, deep breaths. It's going to help calm down your nervous system. It can also help to help you be more present, which can be really, really helpful for many, many reasons. So you can kind of start to move beyond that fear state. The other part of it is, first, again, take some slower, deep breaths. Slower, deep breaths. And then if you're feeling really stressed out and even fearful, but maybe even potentially stressed out, because again, stress is so common these days, try to imagine that you're blowing out that stress. You can even imagine that you're, let's say, cooling down like some hot cocoa, cooling down some hot cocoa. So that's a really, really quick way in the moment to help your body de-stress. And sometimes that can help from being in a fearful state too. What I would say, what helps with being in a fearful state is to have that awareness that you're in that state. And then generally speaking, it will dawn on you that, okay, I can probably move beyond this kind of reactive state, right? Which, again, my brain, my body's trying to just keep me alive. But what might look beyond this? What might be beyond this, right? And that's usually where change and connection all are, and again, all the good stuff. But in terms of managing stress, again, something that I find that works really well in the moment is trying to slow down. And I know it can be hard to slow down if you're feeling stressed out. It's kind of a catch-22 sometimes, but your breath is a really immediate access point that can literally start to activate a calmer sense in your body and activate that calmer system in your body. It can help to move you out of the fight or flight response, which again is more of that fear response often. So again, if you want to take some slower breaths, deeper breaths, and then on the exhale, imagine that you're just blowing out that air through your mouth. Again, you can imagine maybe you're cooling down a cup of hot cocoa, cooling down some soup, or imagine that you're just making the sound that sounds like the wind, right? But you just want to blow that stress out. And what you're actually doing is activating what's called your vagus nerve. And that's going to start to activate the relaxation response in you. And the relaxation response is the opposite of the stress response. And that's, generally speaking, the place that we want to live life from. And again, I know that can be really difficult in this day and age because, again, everything feels so stressful and there's so many stressful things going on. However, we all still, of course, want to feel happy. We want to feel fulfilled. We want to pursue our calling and our passion and create great connections and live a happy life, right? And so much of well-being is tied to not being in that stressful state. And so we really have to make a conscious effort to take care of ourselves and to come back to that sense of being more present, moving beyond the fearful state, and doing what we can physically to help ourselves get back to that state. So again, deeper, slower breathing, and then exhale out that stress. That's a really good place to start. Nutrition can also really help you if you're eating well and really taking care of yourself on that level. That can fortify your body and kind of reduce that anxiety. It can really help to surround yourself with positive people, positive situations. And again, since the default state tends to be more of the fear state, what I find can also be really helpful is in the mornings, I really love to, whether it's looking through Pinterest or let's say YouTube, looking for those motivational quotes, those inspirational quotes. I used to think, I've always loved quotes because I'm a writer and there's so many great quotes out there. And I used to think that, quotes are great and it's nice to look at them occasionally, but actually they can really help you. They can help you get more centered and remind you of what's important, whether that's your own well-being, your purpose, your passion, and really, again, moving out of that fear state and more back into a balanced and calm state. So deeper breathing, slower breathing, kind of getting that mental mindset back, that motivational mindset, whatever works for you, whatever's going to help you feel more inspired, centered, connected. Exercise of some type can usually help as well. Now, I will address that in terms of chronic fatigue in a little bit here, but generally speaking, our bodies were meant to move, and anything can help you. It can help to manage stress. It can help to move out stress. It can help you to manage your anxiety and fear. It can also help you get back more into, again, what I mentioned is the relaxation response, which is a calmer state. It's the opposite of the fear response. It's the opposite of fight or flight. And it's where your body is resting, relaxing, digesting, and you're also feeling more of a sense of connection with yourself and others. And anything that helps you kind of move out that stress, whether it's deeper, slower breathing or some type of even gentle exercise. Like I personally love to get out and forest bathe, and I do love to do yoga. Yoga can be really great because not only is it helping you breathe on a slower, deeper level, which can really be great to manage fear and stress and anxiety and even improve your energy. And you can do it really, really mellow if you don't have a very big energy, what they call energy envelope. We talk about an energy envelope in terms of chronic fatigue, people that have chronic fatigue. And I'll talk a little bit more about chronic fatigue coming up here, but in general, gentle movement or whatever works for you in terms of kind of moving out that stress, in terms of exercise or gentle movement or deeper breathing is really going to help you. Making sure that you're feeling connected both to yourself and other people can really help. And we do live in a more disconnected world right now. I mean, I know we're hyper connected in terms of tech, but we can't forget those really basic fundamental connections that we all need on the really deep personal level, to help us thrive in our lives and emotionally and spiritually and all of those as well. So really do your part to reach out to other people and fix those, if you have some relationships that aren't doing as well, as long as of course they're not abusive, they have to be healthy, and no one's going to be perfect, but it can really help you to manage your stress and even manage your fear and even manage your energy. It can help to improve your energy to create more healthy connections with other people. And then there's also that sense of connection with yourself and the world around you. I would say what also can help to manage fear and stress is really to really connect with your sense of your purpose and your calling. And I know it can be hard to figure out exactly what that is sometimes. For me, my calling is helping people with their energy and well-being. And that certainly isn't what I thought that my calling was going to be growing up. I was kind of studying more like dance, and I have a degree in English literature, and I was a modern dance major for a long time. And, I was much more kind of artistically oriented, and I still very much am. But again, when I developed health issues in my early 20s and developed chronic fatigue in my early 20s, I turned to natural alternatives and integrative practices like nutrition, like mindfulness, like stress management, like self-care, because those are the things that have worked for me. And I personally can't take prescription drugs. I'm not knocking them. I just personally can't take them. And I learned that from having gone through my ski accident and subsequent physical therapy. I wasn't responding well to the painkillers they gave me or the anti-inflammatories. They were actually making me worse. I actually fell into a very deep depression in those. And I go into a lot of that in my book. And I'll share my book really briefly here. My book is called The Memory of Health, A Journey to Wellbeing. It took me 10 years to write. It's chock full of research and tips and information on chronic fatigue. So if you have chronic fatigue for any reason, whether that's tied to severe stress, maybe it's tied to trauma, maybe it's tied to severe fear, or maybe it's tied to some type of chronic condition, whether that's CFS or another type of chronic condition. Sometimes people develop chronic fatigue because they've been through cancer treatments. Other people develop chronic fatigue because it's a symptom due to a chronic condition like CFS. People can have chronic fatigue for all different types of reasons. You can also develop it if you've burned out. And a lot of people have burned out just from living in this modern world. Again, this very modern, stressful world. And it really is that much more important to take care of yourself every single day and show up for yourself every single day. And there are so many things that you can do to manage your stress and manage your fear and even improve your energy. And I really do take a deep dive into that and into my book. So this is my book. It has the older subtitle, but the main title is called The Memory of Health. I changed the subtitle to A Journey to Wellbeing because I felt like that was more true, kind of universal, right? Like we all have our own way back to well, we all have our own journey to well-being. But my book really does take a deep dive into chronic fatigue. But I talk a lot about how to manage your stress in there and how to address fear and of course, how to improve your energy. And I was thinking about I've been thinking about these topics lately, and I wanted to address them because again, we live in such a stressful world right now. And I just really hope that my hope for you is that you realize that you have so much more power and control in a good way over how you can feel and how you can improve your own well-being and how you can manage your stress. Self-care and stress management are going to be different for everybody. What reduces one person's stress may not work for someone else. Sometimes you have to really kind of be a health and wellness detective and really listen and observe, in your own life, like, is this making me feel better when I do this certain activity? And did you know that a lot of activities can manage stress by the fact that they are so enjoyable for you in particular, whatever that might be for you, that they actually get you more into that relaxation response and even into what they call a flow state. So the flow state, of course, is a term that was coined by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. And the flow state, kind of takes you up to the upper edge of stress, but not where you're feeling stressed out, but you're kind of really more in that creative zone. And so we can kind of harness stress in a positive way if we're deeply, deeply enjoying something. And also, it's also challenging enough that we're deeply engaged in it, whatever that might be, but we're not stressed out by it. Like we're just deeply, deeply in the present moment. And that can be an antidote to stress and fear. And it can also actually kind of improve your energy to some degree as well, because it's going to help you feel more relaxed if you're getting deeply, deeply into something. So let's look at some examples. That could be maybe you're really into art, or maybe you're really into yoga, or maybe you're really into walking or hiking, or maybe you're really into your profession, whatever that is. Maybe you're a YouTuber, and creating YouTube videos makes you really happy and really calm and happy and engaged and manages your stress better. Or if you love to create art, you can get into the zone and in the flow with that, and kind of really start to enjoy your life more when you go deep, deep into the things that bring you personal fulfillment and joy. And that can be a fantastic way to not only get out of the fear state, but manage your stress better and improve your energy because you're feeling more relaxed. And anytime you're feeling more relaxed, that's going to help improve your energy. And now chronic fatigue is its own topic. And I might do another book, not another book. I have a couple books out on it actually, but my main book is called The Memory of Health. I might do another video on that very specifically. But I just wanted to mention fatigue in the sense of how it's tied to stress, and chronic stress these days. And again, for a deeper dive into, let's say you do have chronic fatigue, my book might be really useful for you. And again, I'll do another video that takes a deep dive into how to improve your energy levels if you have chronic fatigue. But I hope this video helps you if you've been dealing with really a lot of stress and maybe not sleeping well. Did you know that if you manage your stress better during the day and you can keep your stress levels down during the day, it's going to help you sleep better at night too. So there are so many benefits to taking care of yourself on a really deep level, and doing everything you can to manage your stress and increase your joy. And just, again, being mindful of when fear comes up, you can kind of gently say, oh, hello, fear, oh, hi, I see you there. There you are again. Just remember, it's a default state. It's nothing to be ashamed about. It's nothing to, it's kind of the state that we kind of keep going back to. But what we can do is we can train ourselves, we can train our brain to not have that be a state that we stay in very long. You can almost use it as like a stepping off point, like if you feel that fear response coming up. And I know sometimes we are not necessarily aware that we're in the fear state because it is so common. But sometimes, if we find ourselves thinking in terms of ways of like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that, or, oh, I'm feeling stressed, or you kind of feel like the world's closing in on you more, or you kind of feel like you can't make decisions. Those can also a lot of times be signs that you're living more in the fear state, or you're feeling extremely stressed out. And, again, take some slower, deep breaths and just, kind of, you can acknowledge fear and then just kind of let it go on its way. And then look beyond. What's beyond that? And what's beyond that is joy, connection, happiness, flow, deep engagement. And you have the innate human right to experience all of those things, even in the world that we're living in today. As a matter of fact, I would say that it's even more important that as many of us as possible do everything we can to live more in that state. I feel like that would ultimately help raise the vibration overall on the planet and improve everyone's energy and happiness. Take care of yourself and do everything you can to make yourself happy and make those around you happy, and contribute to the positive energy of the world. And I really feel like that would make a difference for not only you, but for all of us. So I hope this helps you, and I'll talk to you again soon. And if you want to check out my book, you can just type in this link that you see below. It's a very short link. And if you're just listening to this, it's bit.ly/chronic fatigue book. Again, that's bit.ly/chronic fatigue book. And again, the name of the book is called The Memory of Health. This is the name of my book, The Memory of Health. It took me 10 years to write. And it takes a deep dive, not only into chronic fatigue, but of course, it gives you tons of research and information on how to manage your stress better, how to be more mindful, how to handle anxiety more, and even depression. I talk about depression in there. There's a lot of mental health information in there. And of course, a lot of research on what causes chronic fatigue, how to address it. It's just chock full of information. It's really a guide to well-being in general. My memoir is in there as well in the very beginning. So it takes a deep dive into my experiences with developing health issues and chronic fatigue in my early 20s. I also personally went through domestic abuse several times when I was older. And so I had to face that trauma. And a lot of people have faced trauma these days as well. So I definitely talk about not only trauma in the book, but also resilience, how you can cultivate more resilience and managing stress, connecting more with people, and really tapping into your own joy and your own sense of purpose and getting more into that flow state. Those are some of the ways that can help you. Practicing lots of self-care too can really help you manage stress, manage fear, and improve your energy. So I'm a huge proponent of practicing self-care. And there's so many different ways you can do it. And self-care is an umbrella term. So stress management is part of self-care. So you can manage your stress, but you can also do other things that will take really good care of yourself. And that can be anything that works for you that's going to help you feel more less stressed and more energetic and less fearful and more present, more mindful, more happy, more connected. So thanks for listening and watching. I hope this helps you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.